It's also Matt Green at Porchcast Pottstown. Porchcast Pottstown on YouTube. The channel should be up and running. However, I haven't had a chance to put any videos or anything onto it.
We created it several months ago, and then we kind of forgot about it. Oh, we're live.
We're live.
All right. Great. Hello, folks.
We're early today.
Yeah, we are early today. All right. Is the sound working? Hello, Nicole and Judy.
Sound should be working because I'm getting perfect sound through
Matt,
the earphones
I'm
here.
so impressed with you got the texts up there?
I
Awesome.
just monitored on the show, and I can hear it fine.
All right. Great.
I'm just going to monitor off the soundboard, though, because if I listen to the show, it'll
Trust
echo.
me, somebody will let us know if they can't hear. So welcome to the show. You will notice that we have a disembodied voice of Matt Green.
Hello.
Over there on mic 1. And we have a guest today. Our guest is looks and sounds great. Thank you, Deb Penrod. Thank you for not cheering for our failure.
Yes, I'm glad Deb Penrod prayed for success last night. Deb was one of the people that tuned into my tests. I did several screen tests last night, and Deb was one of the people that tuned in. So thank you for participating in the screen test if you did that.
All right. Nicole says she's got live captions. I don't know what that means. Did you set it up for like closed captioning for the hearing impaired?
I may have, but I'm not sure.
Inadvertently?
Yeah, because we're also experimenting with some new technology today.
Yeah.
So you'll also see that the broadcast was brought to you by Restream.io.
Uh-huh.
That's our new broadcasting system. Now,
Cool.
I haven't checked the feed yet, but we may also be live broadcasting to YouTube today, too, for the first time. I just got to switch screens here on my
All right,
computer.
Don't be doing anything tricky over there, though,
No,
Matt.
I practiced last night. I think I'm good. I think I know what I'm doing.
Well, we do have a guest today. We have Pastor Josh Park from Branch Life Church. I would like to thank Nicole Vickers-Matz for hooking us up with Pastor Josh to talk about the Support for the Ashwood Apartments. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. All right. Nicole says it's distracting. Sorry, Nicole. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think
we don't know what we did.
She might have turned captions on
Oh, okay.
her.
That might be like a user setting?
It could be a user setting.
All right.
There wasn't any captioning setting that I know that I purposely...
That you purposely did. So
switched.
Okay.
So you might want to check your own settings.
Great.
Also, it does appear that we're sending data to YouTube.
Oh, that's very exciting.
So if one of our Porchtonians wants to shoot over to Porchcast Pottstown.
Are we sure that's what it is?
Porchcast Pottstown.
We set it up like in
YouTube.
April, and we haven't done anything with it.
If you want to shoot over there to Porchcast Pottstown on YouTube and check the live feed to see if we are streaming live, I would appreciate that.
That would be cool. All right. So no cat. Hello, Mom. Cheers. Trinita says, hey, Josh.
Yay.
Jeff Frederick is here. All right. So I just want to talk about the weekend first before I start grilling Josh with a million questions. Good questions, because I have a lot of questions about what you guys are doing. So sit tight. But I do want to talk about the cleanup that happened.
We've got to celebrate this.
Yes.
I mean, seriously. We kicked some
butt. Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Hey,
It's
here comes
acceptable.
another Josh.
Right.
We got to walk by.
We got to walk by.
Hey, Josh. How are you?
Support the very best.
Support
It's
the
your
very
local
best.
hot dog shop.
Everybody seems that it's appropriate to watch their language around pastors, so it makes
Right.
for
Well,
awkward dinner
we went to
conversation. But it's okay.
This is
Yeah.
the Tuesday show. We try to keep it clean on the
All right.
Tuesday show.
Yeah.
Thursday happy hour gets a little
Anything
little,
goes.
I'll watch on
adult.
Thursday then.
Yes.
Yeah, tune in.
if it's
Say
okay.
a prayer for us.
Right.
Okay,
Help us,
I'll say a
take
prayer.
help us in our everlasting salvation.
So Saturday was the Reading versus Pottstown superhero cleanup. It was a challenge that was thrown out by the South of Penn, I think was the name of the group, in Reading, to challenge us to a cleanup. Well, Pottstown knows how to rally, as we have sung before in the past, right, Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Yes, it was Reading's South of Penn Civic Group, which challenged Hobart's Run, the neighborhood revitalization group funded by the Hill School. So, according to a report in the Reading Eagle, 60 to 70 people showed up for the cleanup in Reading, which has
60
approximately
to 70.
88,000 residents.
I was going to say they're around 100,000. I mean, they're
Four
a
times
pretty
as much.
good-sized
Pottstown's
city.
around 22, and Reading is around 88. So it's
So they're four
four
times our
times
size.
our size. And guess what?
David and Goliath. How's that for a biblical reference?
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yes.
one.
So Pottstown had over 200 participants. I think the last number that I saw from Kathy Skitko, well, this says 214. So
Wow.
that is 3 times as many.
Nice.
Yes.
Pottstown.
So lots
Representing
of
the
lots
6-4.
of lots of people participating, different community groups, different neighborhoods here in the Nohano. We had 10 people in our group,
Right.
and
Yeah, the Nohano representing.
represented strong.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great pictures. If you go to the Hobart's Run Facebook page or website, and we talked about that all the time, you know how to find it, folks, that you can see all of the pictures that were submitted by participants and also submitted by taken by the Hill School photographer. So there's lots of great photos of the different neighborhood groups that participated. There was a ton of trash that was picked up. I don't know if it was a literal ton, but it was a lot.
I bet you it was at least a literal ton.
What
Because
is the- how much is a ton?
2,000 pounds. And I saw some pretty stacked corners. So I would guarantee you that they at least got a ton of trash.
Yes.
At least.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's like a very strong indictment for our town. It's not certainly not the
Well-
greatest thing to be known for.
Right.
But
We make a ton of trash just in my house. So
Right.
how many kids do you have?
3 right now.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
yeah.
I have,
and you're all
I
at
have
home.
3.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
All at
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And a dog.
Yeah.
Oh, forget
So
about it.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem, Matt, you and I talked about this just before, is that on your side of the street, your trash comes out front.
Yeah.
On this side of the street, the trash goes out back.
Right.
So we end up with a lot of trash in the alley because what happens is that sometimes when they're emptying it, things fall out, or
Yeah.
if the lids blow open and the trash barrel is full, things can blow around. I like to try to think that that's where most of the trash comes from, not
No,
just from people throwing
No,
things
I
down.
would agree with that. Like, I would agree that most of it probably comes from the alleys because
Yeah.
at least here on Hanover Street, on my side of the street, we don't have an alley, so we're putting it out in front of our house.
Right.
So if there is a spill or it blows around,
It's gonna
you
be on the
see
street.
it.
Right.
And you see it right away. You get out there and pick it up.
Right.
But if it's in the alley, kind of out of sight, out of
Yeah.
mind, it blows around.
Yep.
Some people don't want to take responsibility. I'm not picking up my neighbor's trash, you know.
I do.
So that happens.
I did. I will
I know
admit
you
that I
do.
did more before COVID.
I
But
did
now that I
too.
have my picker, I meant to bring my picker out. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's still pickers available if people want to pick up trash like on a daily basis.
Well, for a while there,
so-
that was a fundraiser for
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
$15
Yeah,
got
for
you a picker. and-
donation
Right.
got you the picker. So contact
Hobart's Run,
Hobart's Run
folks.
if you would like a picker. The sale, or I'm sorry, for a donation, you can get a picker, and that donation goes to Edgewood Cemetery.
So I'm glad that we won. I'm glad that we beat Reading because I had talked trash,
Yeah.
right out on the air.
No pun intended.
Yes, no pun intended. I talked some serious trash on
Yeah.
Reading, and I was worried about the numbers because I knew they were a bigger community.
Yeah, you
than
were
us.
shouting your mouth off and shooting your
well,
mouth
it's what
off.
I have to do, right?
Yeah. Well,
I have
it's kind
to.
of what you do.
It is.
It is what you do,
Totally.
not what you have to do.
100%.
It's what you do.
It's who I am.
Yes, it is.
So
innate.
I'm glad that we stepped up to the plate.
Yes.
I think there's something like 95 pictures floating around on Facebook. On if you go to the Hobart's Run
Right.
Facebook page, there was
Yeah.
2 different posts. One had 45 pictures. The other one
Yep.
had 50. I saw a lot of Porchtonians
Yes.
in those pictures.
Yes.
So Porchtonians
Yes,
represent.
representing.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect, beautiful day, and it was 2 hours. I mean, 2 hours. It was nothing, and we were done in our general area after
I
about
was done pretty quick
about an hour to an hour and a half.
because I spent a good amount of time talking to Terry Fetterman.
Right.
To be honest with you.
It was nice to see the Fetterman. So that
It
was the
was.
other thing that was nice. It was a beautiful
It
day.
was good to see
We
everybody
picked
out
up
of their
trash,
house for
and then we
once.
got to see some people. Like I hadn't laid eyes on Patty in a long time.
Right.
So it was nice to see her. I saw Darlene and the Vontors. They were walking up from the Fringe and saw them. So it was just a nice way to do something social. But it wasn't really social. It was civic, right?
I have a moral dilemma with the trash situation now because I will pick up other people's trash. But if you see a mask on the ground, I don't know what to do.
So I think with the masks, I used to think like, oh, that's so rude. People are throwing their masks on the ground. But several times I have done this myself. I'm in my car, I take off my mask, I put it in my lap, and then I get up and my mask falls on the ground, and I don't. Sometimes I realize it and sometimes I don't. That's also how I usually lose my winter gloves. But I think that's a lot of what happens. If you have a picker.
If you have a picker, you don't have to touch it.
Do you have a picker?
I have a picker in my car, but it's not my picker.
I will give you a picker.
Because our
leave.
pickers are going to the Ashwood Relief Center.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will give you a picker for your very own self.
Okay.
Winner.
So then you can pick it up.
Winner.
Yes.
Hey, look, one more thing.
Yes.
And it'll bring a couple of things together, and then we'll start getting into Pastor Josh and the reason he came here.
Yes.
William Paul Broglie, Esquire.
William Paul Broglie had a good time in the Nohano on Saturday.
He did, and he also had one of the larger groups gathered outside of his office.
Yeah,
on
that was
Charlotte
a
Street.
Rotary group.
I think
right?
that was mostly Rotary folks.
Yep.
So congratulations to William Paul Broglie.
Pretty good for a Grover.
Esquire. And then we treated ourselves. After cleaning up, we treated ourselves with neighborhood movie night.
We did. We had
socially distanced,
outdoor
masked up
movie in the backyard of our neighbors, Jim and Sue Kane.
Awesome
and
time.
They have it's really a nice yard, and it's kind of like long and skinny, like a lot of yards are here. So they had
it sloped perfectly.
Yeah, it really was.
Because my kid Pat and his girlfriend were sitting in front of me, and I could see right over top of them. So it came out nice.
Yeah, and Sue, who has a broken ankle, was sitting behind us.
Right.
And she was able to see
over top of you.
Yeah.
What movie?
So we watched
Slapshot.
Slapshot, wow.
From 1976. I think Jim said it was 77. He said it was filmed
in 76.
He said it was
and
filmed the year
77.
before the flood, and the flood was in 77.
Okay.
And so Jim grew up in Johnstown, and that was really fun for him because
it was like Mystery Science Theater 3000 for him. Like he kept popping in.
He was like, "This is the scene where my brothers walked in and wrecked the shot, and they had to film it over again." So that was really fun. But let me tell you, wow, they don't make movies like that anymore.
No.
Not safe for kids. Let's just say that.
I've never seen it.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm glad that my son who attended is 17.
There's a lot of swearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
I
thought it was dangerous.
It's a hockey movie.
Okay.
Right? So hockey's pretty rough and tumble. But I was laughing my head off. I had never seen it.
You had never seen it?
No.
I had seen it several
everybody was
times.
laughing. Your dad was guffawing a lot. He was laughing. And the Kennedys, everybody was really just enjoying it.
It was a good time.
Yeah, and it was just really fun to be able to do something that was social because we used to get together in the neighborhood a lot. And that was, I think, the first Nohano gathering that we've had.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So that was our reward for
picking trash.
Yes, and for kicking Redding's butt.
Yes.
What do you win? What did Pottstown win?
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights.
So that's what we're doing right
Priceless.
now. Yeah, Porchcast.
Stupid Redding.
Yes. Yeah. So
I was born in Redding, though. I don't know
were
if that, yeah, just in the hospital.
Okay.
All right. So let's swing it back around here.
Yeah.
So Pastor Josh Parks, Branch Life Church. We talked to Josh. We've been talking to Josh for about an hour now. Branch Life Church is located down on Pewtown Road.
Yeah.
And right off of Route 100. Or no, that's
you
Route
got
100.
Yep.
Route 100.
Right past O&J High School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check them out. So
I'm
going to ask one question. And then Amy's going to take over so that I'm not disembodied voice for the entire interview. Tell us about what Branch Life Church is doing for Support for Ashwood Apartments. And Support for Ashwood Apartments is the name of the Facebook page that you would like people to go to get involved.
That's the best place to go to just get the latest information on what's happening with the Ashwood Fire relief. And you can connect with any one of us who are on the team there. Okay. And then we can get you information. So if you have any questions or you like to see what's going on, that's the place to go. And that's where the families are, so they can be You can interact with the families. If you've got something you'd like to try to connect with the family, that's the place to do it.
Right.
And
Okay.
and people
Right.
jump
so
in
that's
that
the
spot.
that's the coordinated effort, is that page. And then we've already talked about TCN being the main focal point for the financial donations.
Yeah.
So we've been sending people there for weeks now to Tri-County Community Network, their website, which is tcnetwork.org. And there's a special drop-down box for Ashwood Apartments. So let's see if we can get some financial donations from Porchtonians. Paul Scambato, if you are here, I know you already made your donation last week. You were the first one.
Yeah, and I know what the amount is today. So if it goes up, we'll say
Yes.
it's all from Porchtonians.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that's a healthy fund, and it's growing, but it's 100 people that were affected by the fire. So if you take that number in that fund and divide it by 100, it gets really small really quick.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
it exists. It's being used every day, and families are taking advantage of it and using it, pulling from it as they get rehoused right now. So yeah, TCN Network, that's the place where there were a lot of collection sites, 48 hours,
Yeah.
3
there was,
days.
yeah,
There's
fire
a lot of different
departments
places.
and- yeah.
This all consolidated all of those. So if you gave and it went to another name, like Netzer or another place, it ended up in this
Got
fund.
it. It all came back to
Yep.
that pool.
So if you gave,
Right.
that's where it's gone to. It's the one fund that exists right now
Right.
for the families.
So how did Branch Life become involved as the main coordinator of the outreach effort?
I'm not 100% sure how that happened.
So a lot of times when
He
for people
prayed very
for,
hard.
Yeah, it was a God
for people
thing.
that,
Prayers were
that
answered.
volunteer, they often say the same thing. I don't know how I got involved in this. It just kind of came to me.
It just kind of
Right.
happened. My house is in the sight line of the apartments. So
Okay.
when the fire happened, you could see the fire. You could
Yeah.
see the helicopters. And so just as a community member, I just went down to help. And they had talked about coming to the fire hall, and there may have been people who were in trouble. There may be need for water. It was that kind of thing. It was real ambiguous. And because we are who we are and we do what we do, there were people asking us, how do you help?
Right.
So Branch Life people, we have our own Branchtonians, and they were contact friends and neighbors. Josh, what do you know? You're supposed to know something. I didn't know anything. So I just went down, and the rest is history. You know, we just got involved almost right away. The community's response within hours of the fire was overwhelming.
Really incredible.
And there was a lot of need, but there were a lot of fire trucks. There was a lot of police officers. There was a lot of everything going on. Red Cross, Salvation Army, you name it, they were there. And they were all busy doing their emergency response thing. Well, meantime, here comes the community with
Stuff.
Right.
Food, water.
It started
stuff,
with water.
Blankets.
Yeah, because someone put on Facebook, bring water. That was, God bless their hearts. But
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
The water, there it came.
So the
Right.
first thing I did was just help some kid who was trying to move water. He just looked like he was in trouble. So we made our mountains of water, and then I guess people just assumed that was the guy who you give stuff to because he was stacking the water.
And that was you.
So that was
You
me.
were the guy.
So then they said, what do you do with the clothes? What do you do with the...
Right.
So I became in charge of the mountain of
You
fluff.
became just a natural leader,
Yeah.
and people are looking.
Just started pointing at
looking for-
people and saying, you take care of the shoes. Could you fold pants? Could you...
Right.
And then just started asking questions and direct. There were people that helped for probably 24, 48 hours from the time the fire happened till 2 days later.
Wow.
We worked side by side. I don't know their names. I couldn't tell you who
Yeah,
they were.
you were in the zone.
They were just there,
Getting
and
it
they just
done.
came back, and they did it again for another day, and they did it again for another day, and there was probably 10 or 15 of those
Wow.
kind of people.
Wow.
And I wouldn't even be able to recognize them on the street in this moment. Like, it just is such a blur, but they were there.
Right.
That was an incredible part.
Yeah,
so when they said,
when
"Can
I
you
say
help?"
Pottstown knows how to rally, I mean the greater Pottstown area, and that includes, what happened that night is
Yep.
that people just wanted to do something.
Yep.
Right. Wanted to, and I think also because we are in what we're in, that fire was July 30th. I know because it was the night of our fundraiser that got canceled for Pottstown Go Forth, and people have been cooped up and for so long without anything to do and want to do good things and want to do things in general. And so when an opportunity comes up to, they've got almost all this pent up good deeds.
Yeah, this was a way to do
that
something
they weren't
to help.
able to
I can help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even 3 or 4 that morning, still at 3 or 4 that morning, I remember it was about 3:30, and it had slowed down, and the families were just getting ready to be placed, and we were interacting with the families, just getting them shoes and a change of clothes and
Right.
helping them pull stuff. And I just went outside for a breath of fresh air, and there comes one of my friends who lives right here in the middle of Pottstown at 3 in the morning. She didn't know I was there. I didn't know she was coming, and she just had kids' shoes. She just had a basket of kids' shoes, and it
Wow.
was like 3:30 in the morning. I just
Like, where did you get a basket of kids' shoes?
that was my moment
Right.
where I just cried. I was like, oh wow, like,
wow. I'm going to
yeah.
cry right now just listening
Yeah.
to that story.
and that's just
Yeah.
one that happened thousands of times.
Sure.
And so the next day, the line started at about 8 in the morning, and it wrapped all the way down past the Wawa, down 724, up
Yeah,
the other
people
side,
dropping things off at the Norco Fire Department.
opening their
right?
trunks, dumping it, opening their trunks, dumping
Right,
it. And so
right.
it became a project, and the emergency workers are doing their thing. So they needed community members to help sort, organize, run
Sure.
the show so they could do what they were doing for the families. So that's how we became involved.
So, how quickly does the Red Cross show up at a scene like that? Like, does the fire department call them and say, we've got 100 families, or we've got 100 people that have been displaced? How many families was it? It was.
It's 45 apartments, 50 families, 100 people.
Got it. Right.
Yeah.
So, we've got 100 people that have been displaced. Is it the fire department that makes that call to the Red Cross?
I don't know how they know, but
Okay.
they were there
The
before
county.
I was there.
The
Okay.
county's emergency services
Got it.
coordinates
Got
that
it.
as part of the county disaster relief or
Right.
county incident command system.
So then, does the Red Cross work or this Red Cross and Salvation Army work to place people so they have some place to sleep?
Yeah,
at
Red
least?
Cross primarily. So
Okay.
that is what the Red Cross does. They're emergency response.
Mhm.
And so they come in to respond to the emergency, and they're the ones that house the families that first night.
Right.
And they were the people that were kind of running the point for families need shelter. Here's what you do, and then they covered the costs for that.
Right.
Typically what we learned is they only do 3 days. So if you're a single family, that's 3 days is the emergency, and
Yeah.
then you got to figure it out from there.
Right.
In
so
this
you've got to
case, they
find,
hung on
you
for
know,
a week, and then they gave them money for the next week,
got it.
which was abnormal, but this was an abnormal case. So it was 50 families. This made worldwide
Oh,
news.
yeah, my dad
yeah,
sent me an article and
Yeah.
said that he saw it on the news in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they stuck around, and the Red Cross was great, but they did what they did, and then they stepped out by the end of week 2.
Right. So then what happens to folks? So now they're out of their emergency funding for their week, and what happens then?
That's where the hole is.
Okay.
So what we learned is that typically in most communities, or in other communities, bigger communities, there's a system in place. There's a nonprofit, there's a community organization, there's a church that exists to be a part of the emergency relief. They kind of step up to this place for that moment.
Okay.
And I guess here we're not big enough to have it happen so often that we have it coordinated, but we're not so small that it doesn't happen. So
right.
you know, it's
There's
gonna
a need,
there
not
is a
as big of
need.
a need as there might
Yep.
be in a big city, but there's still a need, and that's where the hole
And
is.
in this particular case, the emergency response organizations and the nonprofits and the churches and everybody they're already at capacity and overwhelmed because of the pandemic. So there
Right.
was no one organization that could
Right.
raise their hand and say, we'll take on 100 new people in one one day.
So you've got services, social services, for lack of a better term, that are already maxed out. Because
Already maxed out.
We're at that point 4 months into a pandemic.
That's right.
So it just adds to.
There's already a housing crisis. Now there's 50 families that need housing.
Right.
So that was overwhelming, and we learned whether there's some great organizations that stepped up to the plate, and I'd be glad to name all of them because they all deserve props.
Mm-hmm.
But no one organization could say, we got this.
Right.
Even national organizations like the Salvation Army and United Way couldn't do it. Even the county, Chester County,
Yeah.
couldn't be like we'll take the lead on this.
Right.
And so it really did become a collaborative effort. And by the end of, thank God that Red Cross extended, because
Mm-hmm.
it gave time for that collaboration to exist. And so the groups, Branch Life, United Way, Open Hearth, Orion, Friends, Handicrafters, Salvation Army, these groups all got together, and we still to this day we meet by every week, if not multiple times a
Right.
week, to coordinate the relief effort that's ongoing.
Right.
Yeah.
Amy and I were both
Overwhelming.
involved in a study that was done by a organization called the Urban Land Institute, and they came in and made some recommendations to Pottstown, the borough specifically, but these recommendations could go throughout the area,
Yeah.
throughout the 19464, 19465, and one of them is that these organizations that have a lot of overlap, that initially try to work within their own silos, really need to start coming together.
Yeah.
So one of the silver linings, in my opinion, of this pandemic has been that that's actually starting to happen. So, for instance, TCN here in the borough and in the area has taken a lead role in coordinating some of these efforts. They're acting as your fiduciary,
Yeah, they're handling the entire
Right.
financial
Right.
coordination, which is a huge chunk.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
good to hear that this stuff is happening. And for me, if that's a silver lining out of this pandemic, then so be it. That we're
Right.
starting to learn to work together rather than work against each other.
Better together.
Better together.
So
Right.
and that goes to that's your ministry's slogan.
That's
right?
one
Or
of our
your
core
motto.
values. Yeah, our T-shirts have it on there, better together, and we just believe that we're better together. The pandemic divides you, politics divides you, religion divides you. A lot of times you see that division, but you realize that when you do come together in these moments, that you're stronger for it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. and
United.
the response to
Yep.
the fire is a proof of that. They just 214 people coming out and cleaning up trash on Saturday is
Yep.
proof of that. You just
Absolutely.
the what is it? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole,
Mhm.
is that how it goes? But like it's you get so much more done when you're working together than when
Yeah,
everyone's trying to be
absolutely.
siloed, doing their own thing.
And I think logistically, these groups who have come together for this now will continue to be able
Right.
to work together in the future.
Because now
we'll
they've
be
got
able.
a
One of the
little bit
big
of a-
conversations is what's the plan for next time.
Yes.
And so those conversations are happening, and the organizations know each other. They know of each other. Now they're walking in battle together. And
Right.
so there's a
Right.
camaraderie that's going to come out of this. That's going to
Sure.
make us stronger. Yeah.
So, of the 50 families that were displaced, how many have been placed, and how many are still in temporary housing?
So I have this sheet with me every day.
That is,
This
you
is-
got a lot of info on there.
This was with me since 24 hours after the fire. I've literally touched it every day.
Yeah.
And it's the 45 apartments with everybody's updated names and stuff
Okay.
for me. The pink is a family that's been permanently housed.
Right.
You want to show
So
that
you
towards
still-
the camera?
Yep.
You still have a lot of
So we have about
You still
15
have a lot of not
families.
pink. A lot
Yeah,
of
there's
not pink.
more not pink than pink. So the goal is that this whole thing pinks out as soon as possible. There are about 35 families that are not yet permanently housed, and we're 45 days since the fire.
Wow.
So that's 45 families that are sleeping on someone's couch, that are staying with a relative, that are
Right.
staying in a hotel.
Trying to have their kids, if there's kids involved, their
Kids
kids
started
are going
cyber
to
school.
Sure.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Some of these families have significant health issues. Several of
Yeah.
them are in getting dialysis or
Oh.
cancer treatments
Yeah.
or in wheelchairs.
Right. So
and
trying to manage all of
Yeah, they just
all of
gotta
those,
get from
those,
appointment
those
to
are
appointment.
challenging in normal times.
they lost all their stuff. They lost all
Right.
their phones. They lost all their numbers. Like let alone having to try to find and locate a new place to live.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's been a huge, and like we said, there's been a housing crisis, and this was a lower cost housing in a high cost housing area.
Right. So it was really unique in that way.
It was unique in that way. So that is not a big option right now for
so,
these families.
So staying in that area, there might not be other apartments that are available in the price
At
range.
that price point. Mm-mm.
Right.
They-
So
they
there's
don't
that
exist.
challenge. Yeah.
There's
and
that
so
challenge.
you want, and if there are kids involved, people want to stay in the same school districts, right? So there's
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's at least five moms here that have 3 or more kids,
Wow.
and so
Yeah.
there's
Trying
those
to handle-
kinds of family units.
So
And,
after the show, Josh, I'm going to get with you. I can't help families right now with rentals, unfortunately, but I do have 2 rentals if you have
Kimberly Quarles
single
wants
people.
Kimberly
or
Quarles wants to be unblocked. Sorry.
I don't know what I did, and I
Okay.
apologize to her. In the
Kimberly
comments.
probably deserved it, right? Like,
No, I
She
hit the,
said something very nice about you,
oh
Josh.
no, then she didn't deserve it. Yeah, unblock
Kimberly,
Kimberly.
I'm very sorry.
I'll advocate
I'm
for
using new technology, and I hit the wrong button. I apologize. But I do have a couple of apartments for lease. I have one for a single person and one for probably 2 people.
Awesome.
If you have a couple, I could probably get them in. So I'll hook up with you after the show.
Yeah, let's talk. And if there are landlords listening, contacting the Chester County Housing Authority, even if you're in Montgomery County,
Mm-hmm.
the Chester County Housing Authority is a part of our weekly conversations. There's a gal there that's amazing who is just pulling in resources and apartments and handing them back out to the families. Every family has a caseworker that knows what they're looking for, what their price range is, where their area is, and those caseworkers are working with the housing authority, working with the families to try to get them connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I'm going to give you a couple of different resources that might come in handy if I'm bending your ear about something you already know about. Let me know, but we'll connect after.
That'd
the
be
show.
awesome.
All right.
Yep, that is the biggest need, is that they can
The
find
housing.
apartments. Yeah.
Sure.
So far, their hotels have been covered since day one. So if they're in a hotel, the county stepped up and said, we're going to take care of the hotels. United Way is covering some of the administration costs.
Right.
But that's
That's-
again, imagine the number of families. There's just a very small percentage of families that had renter's insurance.
Yeah.
And so the ones that don't have a family friend to crash with, they're in hotels. That's got to get paid for somehow.
Right.
And that's
not all renters insurance will cover displacement.
not for unlimited time.
And not for 45 days.
Yes,
Right?
most will do for a month or 2 months.
Yeah.
Some did up to a year.
Right. We just got renters insurance for my son for his apartment in college. It was $145 for the year. So
Right, it's not
it's
much.
it's very reasonable if you break that out. A monthly, that's $12 a month.
$12 a month.
Right. So that is a good lesson for those that are out there that are renting.
Get renter's insurance.
Get renter's insurance.
100%.
I had it when I lived in Chicago, and there was a fire.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it came in pretty handy.
And you can contact Lisa Pavlik at Glocker Insurance for a quote.
Yes, there you go. But it's really reasonable, and it is some apartments will require the insurance. So the apartment that
surprised.
Harrison just moved into
Yeah.
as a college student, so probably college people that are renting to college students, I can understand why they want the
Yeah.
renters to have insurance. But it is really reasonable, and it is definitely something that you want to look into.
Yeah, and no landlord wants to see their tenants displaced.
Of course.
And they want, if this happens, they want to know that they're taken care of. But if it happens and they don't have renter's insurance, there's nothing they can do, the landlords. There's literally nothing they can do. And
Right.
so
Right.
it is I'd require it if I had property. It's not that much more. It's not going to make or break.
Right.
Just lower your rent by $10
Yeah.
a month and
Yes, and
give them renter's insurance.
add it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is fairly irrelevant, but I'm just curious: was there a known? Did they determine the cause or how the fire
Still under
started?
investigation.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Patrick Green, my son, was a firefighter on that fire. He said it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And that because of the age of that structure, it didn't have some of the modern fire standards that we have today.
Right. So suppression systems like firewalls or
Yes.
alert
Non-existent.
systems. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe the place had a sprinkler system.
No, no
Right.
sprinklers, no firewalls. It started up on the 3rd floor, so it started in the top, and it got into the ceiling, the attic, and
Yeah.
just ripped across the whole
Right,
thing.
because there was nothing to stop it.
nothing
from
to
going
stop
across.
it, and just burned down. And so
Yeah.
the 3rd floor doesn't exist. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's just a shell.
Wow.
Most of the 2nd floor doesn't exist, and all of that is on the 1st floor, which is burnt. There's a couple of units that stayed in their shell, but there's some units where there's literally 3 refrigerators
Wow.
because the refrigerator
just
from
dropped.
the
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a total loss. And even if the fire there's only a few apartments where the fire didn't get in there and just burn everything, but those apartments nonetheless are destroyed.
No, well,
Smoke and
there's
water.
smoke damage.
Smoke and water, mold
is-
within a
yeah,
week.
sure.
And there's nothing you could do about it.
Right.
Patrick told me that at one point there was a couple of different firefighter teams that got in trouble in there, and they had to call a mayday to get those guys out.
Really.
And then once that happened, they made the decision that they couldn't save the building anyway. So
Right.
they
so
just did what they
so
call
once they make
surround
the
and
assessment
drown.
that it's like it's not worth risking our firefighters for what's going to probably be a total loss.
Right.
Right. So that's
They
got to be a
just-
hard call to make, but at
They
some
made
point,
sure that the people were out,
Right.
and then once they realized they couldn't save the structure, they pulled everybody out
Yeah.
and just
so
flooded
there
it
are
with
there are
water.
firefighters who literally save lives. They're heroes they kicked down doors without gear on. They got to people that the other tenants couldn't get to because it was too hot or too dark or too smoky. And they pulled out people that were unconscious from that fire. So if you're in there a couple more minutes and you're unconscious, you
dead.
don't live.
Yeah.
So it is a
Oh.
miracle that nobody died.
it is.
Yeah.
It
From
really
this fire.
is really incredible.
Yeah. And the stories
uh,
of what the other tenants did to get tenants out, to get police officers out, pounding on doors, and it happened so quick that they had to do that to get everybody out. And there's still one lady who's hospitalized, but the other 4 that were hospitalized have all been released.
Right.
And there's one that's still shaky from the fire physically, and then the gal who's still hospitalized, and she's expected to make a recovery, but
That's a long time to be in the hospital. Did she have burns or was it smoke?
Nobody burned the outside of their body.
Wow, that's incredible.
But her burns
That-
are on the inside of her body,
Ew.
and that's worse.
Right. So it's respiratory
Yeah.
distress. Wow.
So she was in the burn center in Lehigh Valley
Okay.
for the respiratory recovery,
Right.
and they're obviously concerned about COVID because
Sure.
it's a respiratory illness.
Yeah.
So keeping
And
her
again,
safe.
I think that's another testament to the community's ability to pull together in tough times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Were there pets or was it a no pet?
No, there were quite a few cats
Okay.
in the fire.
Bummer.
Quite a few. There's a couple of guinea pigs, and there was no dogs in the apartment, but there were a couple of dogs that were there, but they pulled them out. So the cat situation was about 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a number that were
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes it, for families that are displaced to then also lose a pet is,
Right.
just an extra layer of emotional stress.
Now there is one brown and black, pretty fat, long-haired cat that was rescued, went to a babysitter in Phoenixville, and they went to move the cat to their new home, and the cat ran away in
no.
Phoenixville. So somewhere between Phoenixville and here,
Is
there
a
is a
ki- a
cat that
cat.
we're looking for.
Right.
Oh,
And
my
the Jeffs will
God.
want me to say this. We got to find this cat,
Right,
and it
so-
might be wandering back to the apartment. But yeah, she's
No comment.
somewhere. Yep.
Is that information or a picture of the cat in the group?
It's been posted on
Okay.
the Ashwood page a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we have many Porchtonians watching from that neck of the woods, but looking out for the cat. Matt
Speaking
loves cats.
I'm not a big fan of cats. Cats love me though.
It's a running joke.
Every time I go someplace and they have a cat, that cat just loves me. It sits on my head. I went to Margaret Ann
So same thing
DeCarlo's
with
house.
dogs. I'm not a huge dog fan, and dogs always find me.
I had 8 cats following me around. Like the whole time I was there. I had my own personal herd of cats. My main issue with cats is what they do to the ecology.
Yeah.
Cats are responsible for eating billions, with a B, billions of birds.
Birds.
every
Hey,
year.
so not to go too far down the we hate cats rabbit hole, but
Nah, I'm done.
The birds. There was apparently some huge bird migration.
Yeah, there's a bird migration going on right now.
right. I'm
It's-
sure
it's
Broglie can tell
annual
us
thing.
all about that.
You can go on. There's multiple news agencies that are covering this bird migration, and if you go to the Cornell Birds Lab website, they're going to have more information about it too.
Right.
You can plug in to start watching the birds, tracking the birds, and report your findings.
Yeah.
But don't tell the cats that.
No.
Right.
We
Well,
don't
it's
wanna
a
tell
it's
the
a,
cats
Don't
how
tell
to
the
do
cats.
that. Don't
it's an
give them the
all-you-can-eat
tracking
buffet
Yeah, no.
for these cats. Like
No.
it's like going to Shady Maple for these cats.
So cats
But-
eat billions of birds?
Billions,
How do they catch them?
because they're
Survival of the
killers.
fittest,
That's what they
man.
do.
There's
They're
Darwinism
hunters.
right there.
Where do
Yeah.
they get Where do
They-
they get the
Well,
birds?
there's outdoor
They go
cats.
outside,
There's
and they
outdoor cats.
stalk them, and they catch them, and they kill them.
I got to look up some YouTube videos tonight, I guess.
There's a fish and wildlife study that was completed over the past couple of years. They found it's the #1 cause of songbird decline
Songbirds.
in
Right.
the world.
Now, if you've got an indoor cat, probably not
I-
contributing to that.
Everybody that says that they have cats, every cat lover tells me their cat stays inside, but yet, anyway, I don't want to go down this rabbit
I know.
hole.
We're getting distracted.
What I do want to
So,
say
yeah.
is, Josh is our first fiver on the
Yes.
show.
And he picked it up right away. We were talking about the fire and the response and before we
Right.
got on air, and he said that he lived near the church or
Near the
not
apartments.
church, near the apartments. And I said, "Oh, you're a fiver," and he knew what I was.
Oh,
he
yeah.
knew what I meant right away.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. We constantly
It's an honor.
We constantly lay down challenges and
It's an honor
gauntlets
for
to
both
the
of you.
fivers. So, you have a place now in Porchtown history,
Yes, you do.
Porchtonian history.
Yes.
It's you're the first fiver on the show.
I'm going to take a screenshot and frame it,
Yes.
Yeah,
put it in
and,
my office,
and we're giving you a picker.
Yeah,
So
we're
you,
giving
and I'm
you
going
a
to
got
picker.
a prize.
put that next to it.
Yeah, we're giving you
Yeah.
a picker. So let's. So what is the #1 way people can help right now? Is it a financial donation? Is that the best way to help, or a place to live?
A place to live.
Okay. And what is there like a price range parameter that we're looking
Yeah,
at?
I mean, ideally between $750 and $1,100.
Okay.
And it obviously depends on the size of the family. So the single bedroom, they're
Sure.
looking for the lower range.
Sure.
And this particular apartment was unique in that everything was wrapped up in the cost of their. I mean, that was heating, that was utilities. It was
that's
all
nice.
there, and that's not typical right now.
Yeah. No, it really isn't.
So and prices are just going up. So yeah, any leads, we know that they're out there. We know there are unlisted apartments of it. They don't list them on purpose.
Right.
They want reference
Oh,
only.
You're getting a lot of nice shout outs on
Yeah.
the page, Josh. Kelly
Josh,
Lynn.
man, your
Other
street
fivers.
cred-
Yes.
yeah,
Other
we
fivers.
You brought some other fivers on the
Yeah,
show. Good
very
to
nice.
see those
Well,
fivers.
and then the people that we have connected with over the course of the last month and a half who have been walked alongside of each other in all this have been awesome. And, I've made lifelong friends
Yeah.
and that I wouldn't have made otherwise, including the Ashwood families. I mean, there's some
Right.
really great people that I just love dearly now. So, I'm saying that, hoping that they're listening and they'll give me a shout out. So I'm just trying to
and
earn
and
it.
show up on Sunday.
Yes.
Anytime, anyone's welcome anytime. This is what we do, though. This is our vision. This is our dream, that we're a church for Pottstown, and we think God is for you, and we want to be a church that's for our neighbors and for our town. We just happen to believe that when God said the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself, He meant it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to do.
It's a pretty good rule to live by.
It is an excellent
actually,
rule.
it really is.
I was just gonna say that's not even a religious message. That's a pretty across the board. You could even say
General,
secular
like
message.
general human.
Human
truth
decency.
is truth,
Right.
Right.
right?
Right.
True is true.
Right.
Not true is not true.
Yeah.
So love your
Well,
neighbor as yourself.
thanks for saying
If
that.
that's true,
Wow.
yeah.
Facts.
I'm gonna start preaching in a second.
Yeah,
you know?
well, you've been. So I did want to say though, but I did kind of want to use that as a segue to before the show started. We were chatting. Why don't you just tell folks about what your vision is for Branch Life Church?
Yeah, tell us about
I
the
thought
church.
that was a pretty neat concept and idea that you had. Especially goes along with this idea of working together. So why don't you use that as a lead into your vision for Branch Life?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking and letting me talk about it for a second. Branch Life Church is brand new, so we're less than a year. We're just over a year old. We're a startup, but the dream, the vision that I think God has given us is that we would love to be embedded in our community. So, in other words, we don't see ourselves having a traditional building or facility that just exists for the church's purposes, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just have a different idea. We would love to be a part of the community in a way that even our facility acts as a community center, and it is in and for the community, that it bridges different ideas and meets different needs. And even our facility we as a church just happen to be a tenant of it on Sunday mornings, but the rest of the time it's open and available in ways that meet the needs, whether it is emergency response like this, or it's networking organizations together and having a place where they can network together, where we can connect to one another. I think our town, Pottstown, is such an incredible town. It's an incredible place. If there was a place for us to come together, that everybody who knows that would just be able to live it out in a great way. So bringing people together is one of our dreams, and not even necessarily bringing people to our church, just bringing people together. And we want to go to the community, not ask the community necessarily to come to us. And so our dream as a church is that we will love our neighbors in that way. So we don't need a building to do that. Right. This is what we are about, and we're about being a part of our community, making our community stronger, and showing God's love that way. And if you need encouragement spiritually, that's awesome. We'll love to have that conversation, but it's not a prerequisite to be.
We got to plug into a couple of the folks that contribute to our show. Whether there's a guy by the name of David Charles. Have you ever talked to David?
Dave and I are buddies, man.
All right, cool.
Yeah, shout out to Dave.
Yeah. It seems like to me that you guys are on a similar path with
we
what
are,
you want to try to do.
I work together with Dave for the mentoring at the middle school.
Okay,
our church has been a part of that.
Right.
We were in the genesis of that, and so Dave and I and other organizations, other churches, kind of he brought a lot of people together on every 4 and 5ers, and trying to do whatever we can do for the middle school, because that's a place where there's some needs, right?
Absolutely.
So let's love on these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, the middle school in Pottstown's kind of a unique situation because it's overpopulated.
It's jam packed, man. I've been in it. Yeah,
and that's what contributes to the majority of the problems there. Plus, that's a tough age, man.
Oh yeah.
That age between grade 5 and grade 8, man, it's rough.
It is rough. It's rough for the kids. It's rough to be that age. It's rough to parent that age. Even for my kid is like a good nerd kid, and he still was a pain in the ass at that age.
My 2 oldest sons managed to. Well, no, Andrew managed to avoid that merger. When Andrew was going to Franklin, 5th grade was still at the neighborhood elementary schools.
Right.
My other 2 boys went through the 5th.
Oh, they did 5th grade at the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids, and there's not a lot of.
Yes,
it's not a lot of adults.
Enough adult
Well,
supervision.
and
it's not their fault.
The difference between a 5th grader and an 8th grader is maturity and age-wise is really a big. It seems bigger than the difference between a 1st grader and a 5th grader, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does make it's a big difference, and I think if there was one thing that if I could get in my time machine and change that we did in the Pottstown School District, it would be that decision to undo that decision. I don't think that helped us all that much.
Yep.
Yeah, when I did middle school work before adult pastoring, and I always said you're going to start middle school
as a
shorter
kid.
than me.
Yeah.
And you're going to graduate middle school taller than me.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in those 3 years.
Yeah, you're coming in as a kid,
That's
and
exactly
you're
right.
leaving as a young adult.
Yep.
Really. So we do have a couple of questions here.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Trinita
if anybody has questions, put them up in the
She met
comments.
you through Strive, which we were just talking about. Some of the Ashwood folks are saying they talking about the apartments they need. They are looking. There's a need for landlords that will take vouchers.
That's right.
Right.
That's
so is that
absolutely true.
Is that Section 8? What is a voucher?
That's what was formerly called Section 8.
Okay.
It's no longer called Section 8. It's the Housing Voucher Program.
Right.
And there are some specific requirements that the landlords have to fulfill in order to be able to accept a housing voucher.
Right.
And it can be time-consuming and strenuous for landlords.
Mm-hmm.
So some landlords decide not to accept housing vouchers because they don't want to go through. It requires extra inspections.
Got it.
And there are some things that would. So, for instance, here in the borough of Pottstown, which already has a pretty strenuous inspection program.
Yes, I know.
The HUD regulations are even more strenuous.
Okay.
So there are some landlords who decide they would rather not. They just want to meet the local requirements.
Right. Yes.
So that's the story there.
So that might be an extra hurdle for for some of
is.
these folks because they are relying on the vouchers and they need to
That's right.
find a place to live that accepts vouchers. So, if you are a landlord, if you know of somebody, if you have any sort of resources, contact Josh. Matt's going to put the information up on
It's
Matt Green Glocker Real Estate
yeah.
page. We
I
will share it
tried
out.
to do it during the show, but I just didn't. The
Right. Don't be
technology's
doing
new.
tricks over there, Matt.
I know.
Just
I
we're
already
good.
blocked
We're
somebody.
at 48 without any technical
Without any
difficulties.
problems.
Yeah, you already blocked
Don't
some
mess up
poor
that
girl.
number, Matt.
Well,
Right?
she started posting again,
Yeah,
so
okay, good.
she must have been able to overcome the block somehow.
So Brogley says, who do we contact? Well, if you want to make a financial contribution, which is going to be the most universally helpful because then you can use it however you want, go to Tri-County Community Network, TCN. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show from the beginning of COVID. So
Yes.
if you don't know the website, Brogley, you've not been paying attention. It's tcnetwork.org. Make your financial donation there. If you have something else to offer, an apartment or other help, then we'll connect you with Josh. So
Yeah,
Or-
we're also running the relief center. So immediately day one after the fire, we created a pop-up relief center. We've been manning that literally every day for the families. It started at the Norco Fire Call. It's where all the donations landed.
right.
And then it became kind of like the command center for the families because they were all spread out.
Yes.
So when in doubt, come to the relief center.
Okay.
So then we became kind of like the point question answer asker people. And so we were at the Norco Fire Hall for 2 weeks. That's an emergency center. You shouldn't have a store there.
Right.
So Liberty Thrift, and I can't give them enough props. They have a community room in their Saratoga store, and they said use it for as long as you want. They're not charging any money.
That's great.
They let us bring all the donations over there. They use their resources to help us sort because it was a monument. It took us 3 weeks
yeah.
to
So they're
sort.
pros. I mean, that's what they do. Is
Yep.
they sort donations. So
Yep.
they probably have a pretty good streamlined system for doing
Yeah.
that.
So we partnered with Liberty Thrift for the community center. There's 2 pregnancy centers here in town that we partnered with for all the baby needs.
Yep.
Genesis Pregnancy Center on High Street, and the other one, the name is In Ian Shoes is helping us with all the shoe donations. Coventry Food Pantry, a Spring City Food Pantry are helping us with food. And so then all of the other stuff that doesn't fit those categories right now is still housed in the relief center. And we had until last 2 weeks ago, we had a picnic for all the families and gave them a bunch of prizes. We gave out all the gift cards that we had at that picnic, so they all have gone.
Right.
So gift cards has been a huge help. It's now becoming logistically challenging to equitably give them out. But if you want to donate gift cards to the relief center, we'll take them there and we'll do the best we can to give them out.
Right.
They come in, they go out.
And then also, I just want to interrupt real quick before we get too far away from the question. If you look there at the bottom of your screen, you'll see Branch Life Church. You can plug Branch Life Church right into your Facebook search engine, and their Facebook page is going to pop up. You can also search Support for Ashwood Apartments. You can plug that Support for Ashwood Apartments right into the search engine on Facebook, and the Ashwood Apartments Facebook page is going to come up. I know that for a fact because I did it last week with my mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Kelly Lynn is giving us an email address, ashwoodapartments@haccnet.org. What is that organization? haccnet.org?
I can't verify or
It says,
deny that as a
so
reliable
she says that's
resource.
for landlords. So maybe if you
Oh,
are
okay.
a landlord and you have some property that you would like that you think might be helpful, that is the contact. So thank you, Kelly Lynn, for that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we have a press release coming out hopefully in the next week that's going to update the community on all of these resources, what's been done to date, because there is some confusion, some conflicting information. Are they paying for hotels? Are they not?
Right.
Is the store open? Is it not? How do they? So we're just putting all that out there just to let the community know that the support has not stopped. As a matter of fact, it's in full swing. There are ways that you can get a part. The news cycle has switched. But for these families, it's still every day.
Right.
And there is still a large team of people who, on their own, are assisting these families on a regular basis. So that's still happening. And the hotel stays is going to become an issue
Yeah,
in a short
pretty soon.
period of time. So the money is running out as
Right.
far as what the county has available. So
Yeah.
if we can get
So,
people into hotels, out of hotels, it'd be great.
The relief center at Liberty. If somebody has items to donate, like, is there a list of things that are needed? Like, we need mattresses, we need clothes, we need this, or is there?
Yeah, we put that on the Ashwood relief
Okay.
site. Occasionally, I'll do a live feed and I'll list what's there. We can't take large furniture, neither can Liberty.
Right.
There is a community warehouse down in Downingtown, the Chester County Community Warehouse. All that information will be in the press release. That's the best way to donate furniture. The families can get in there because they all have a caseworker when the time is right. So it already exists. Or just post your couch on the Ashwood page, and if a family member wants
Right.
it, then great. You can
Right.
coordinate that. But smaller, newer things is no more clothes. We're good with clothes. No more kids stuff, kids clothes, little toys and stuff we'll take. But new things. That's smaller. That's kind of what we're taking. Laundry baskets, household items, that kind of stuff is what's being taken now. Towels. I can't even tell you how much. We just can't keep towels in there. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
They're all taking that on a regular basis, so we keep listing that.
All right.
And,
Is there a need still for like personal items like diapers and formula and like personal hygiene items, soap, shampoo, any of that kind of stuff?
not soap or shampoo?
Okay.
We literally have boxes and boxes
Okay.
of it. The baby stuff can go to one of the pregnancy centers.
Okay.
So, and then the pregnancy centers are serving the families as needed.
Excuse me a sec. Can you put the chicken in the oven?
This
Please.
is the daily interruption. Levi comes out to interrupt our show.
What kind of chicken?
Thank you.
He's on his way to Kung
Just
Fu.
a whole chicken.
Karate.
Yeah.
And I make some smart ass comment to him.
But you haven't fought in my basement in many years,
No.
so thank you. All right, so personal items or so baby stuff can go to Genesis or to the other.
Yep. Same with food. That can go to the food pantries.
Okay.
But yeah, we list on there, and a lot of the families have what they need for where they're at. So if they're in the hotel, they have what they need for the hotel.
Okay.
When they make the transition, they're going to need some more
Right.
household goods.
Right.
It's just hard to know when that's going to happen.
Right, and so those transitions hopefully will happen soon because the money for the housing is running out, and then there will probably be another big surge of needs once they get into their permanent locations.
Right. And that's why the towels go, because when the families that have gotten apartments, they got to put the stuff in their towels. So it's
Sure.
basically the stuff they need to fill their,
Right.
fill the drawers and fill the closets that are completely empty.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Very good information.
Good information.
I
we
hope
should
that
have
our
a pastor on the show more often. These guys know how to talk.
I know
man.
we're really like and
That's
we're
usually not a problem, right?
and we're so
Yeah.
well behaved.
Yeah,
We're so well
we
behaved.
were
You did.
on
You
our
behaved
best
yourselves
behavior.
good, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, I had a couple of beers back here, but other than that, yeah, we did all right.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say,
Yeah.
Pastor Josh, you are, and I put this up in the post. You are a true local hero, man.
Yeah.
And I know heroes don't want to be called heroes, so I'm gonna call you a hero, dude. You showed up when times were tough. You did it under your own steam. You took the weight on your shoulders, and you're throwing it down, man.
Yeah, you walk the walk and
Stepping
talk the
up
talk.
to the plate.
Yeah.
That is the sign of a leader and the sign of a brave person. And I just wanted to congratulate you for being a local leader. Thanks for coming on Porchcast, and thanks for being a local hero.
Very
honest
kind.
to God, from the bottom of my heart.
Honored to be a small part.
I'll send a shout out again to Nicole Matz, and thank you for hooking us up and putting us in touch with Josh so that we can have him on the show to share this very important information. Ongoing needs will still continue to be great. Please consider going to Tri-County Community Network and making a monetary donation. I mentioned on our last show that we were supposed to have a Pottstown Go Forth fundraiser on July 30th, the night of the fire. And as we were, it was supposed to rain. It
No,
didn't.
as we were on the show,
Yeah.
the engines were
Yeah,
going.
the engines
if you go
were
back
going,
and
and we
listen
were
to
like,
that show,
"What
we were
is
wondering
happening?
What was
My
going
gosh."
on. Yeah.
And so we rescheduled our movie night, and we decided that even though it was a fundraiser for Pottstown Go Forth, we wanted to help out the the victims. So we were going to give 25% or 20%. We were going to give 20% of our ticket proceeds to the victims, and then we had to cancel our fundraising night again because of rain. Don't ever have me and my friend Amy plan anything unless you want it to rain. But we decided to give a donation anyway.
Rainmakers.
So even though we didn't have our fundraiser, we made a donation anyway.
We should send you
from
out to
Pottstown.
California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
And you should just plan an event
we should
out
just
there
plan a
for
big
week,
event and
like a
over-
week straight of events.
It would take
Put
me
those
longer.
fires out.
It would take me longer to list the restaurants, organizations who did not.
Yeah.
Like, it,
Yeah.
There were
it
so
would be
many.
a smaller list. It just has been an
Overwhelming.
all-in
Yes.
effort
At
for
Pottstown
Pottstown.
What's
knows
your motto
how
again?
to rally.
Better together,
Better
man.
together.
Better together.
You
Yep.
guys achieved it.
The
Yep.
4 and the 5, better together.
Better together.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
That's
There you
right.
go. Hey, we got a couple of minutes left. You
Yes.
wanted to do a couple of items of news for
Oh,
folks?
yeah. So I just wanted I wanted to remind folks of the Coventry Food Pantry has a page too if people want to donate food. So
Yep.
that's a place that people can go to and contribute. Veterans Island Project Community Day. Pottstown Veterans Island Community Day, September 26th. We've talked about Memorial Park a lot, and this is the Veterans Memorial over at Memorial Park, September 26th from 11 to 1. Go check it out. It's a beautiful park. It honors and remembers our veterans who we love very much on this show.
Yes.
Yes.
They are not losers or
They are not
suckers.
losers.
They
No.
are our heroes.
I also just wanted to touch briefly on the overturning of the pandemic restrictions.
Yeah, so there was
briefly.
a Supreme Court ruling that came down.
Yes.
I think that's a PA Supreme Court ruling.
So U.S. District Judge
Yeah, I don't think it
William
made it to Supreme Court.
Stickman,
Didn't make it. So they were in the
They'll
early
appeal it,
stages
yeah.
then.
yeah,
Okay.
sided
I
with
wasn't sure where it came down.
sided with plaintiffs to let's see. Tom Wolf's administration said Monday it will appeal a federal judge's ruling that pandemic restrictions that require people to stay at home, blah, 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 are unconstitutional. So the judge ruled that they were unconstitutional. However, the ruling means that the current restrictions, including ones that limit the size of indoor and outdoor gatherings, cannot be enforced. So they cannot enforce the 25 people inside, 250 people outdoor restrictions.
Right.
Please turn to page 5.
While you're doing that, here's what I'm
However-
going to say, though. However, like, we should all know better by now.
Okay, so Wolf had already eased many of the restrictions the plaintiffs objected to in their lawsuit, which were allowing businesses to reopen and canceling a statewide stay-at-home order. So they had already
That's
already been loosened
done.
up. But the judge's ruling noted that the administration had merely suspended those measures and could reimpose them at will. While reopening, Pennsylvania limited occupancy to 75% for most businesses, 50% for theaters and gyms, etc., imposed more restrictive measures on bars and restaurants. The judge said that the plaintiffs did not challenge the occupancy limits. And the judge's ruling does not impact those orders. So there's still the 25% restaurant capacity in
Right.
order until September 26th. And businesses at 75% of capacity. So those restrictions are still in place. And very importantly, nor did the lawsuit challenge the Wolf administration's order requiring people to wear masks in public. That was not part of the lawsuit. That has not been affected. So I think those are two really important things to know, that even though the judge overturned this order by Wolf, it does not affect the occupancy rulings or restrictions or
Right.
the mask wearing restrictions. So,
I'm just going back to the point that if you don't think, we should all know by now, if you're a reasonable, rational person who's been following the
Yes.
data
yes.
in any way, shape, or form, you know what to do in order to not get sick.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So if you've just been chomping at the bit to go back to the all-you-can-eat buffet and sit in the bar,
Dude, if you're going to an all-you-can-eat
night
buffet, you
long,
got bigger issues.
if you just are chomping at the bit to go back to the bar
Yeah.
and sit at the bar all night long and blabbity blab with your friends right in their face, have at it. But the data at this point, 6 months in, 5 months, 6 months in, it's pretty solid.
Right.
You're increasing your chances of getting
Yes.
sick.
Yep.
So I'm all for personal freedom, everything else. Like we talked about this on the I've taken an oath to defend the Constitution no less than 4 times in my life. I'm all for it. But if you're dumb enough to think that the Bill of Rights is going to protect you
Right.
from a virus, have at it, bro.
Right.
Go lick a doorknob.
Yep.
And I'm sorry I'm saying like that.
No,
I'm
I
coming
gotcha.
down harsh. But by now, you should know what it takes to stay alive.
Right. Yeah.
You wanna go to AC and gamble with your life? Have at it.
Have at it.
Have at it.
I'm not going to any casinos, even in non-COVID times.
Right.
I almost died last
I'm
time I
just
went to a
using
casino.
that- I'm kind of using that as
Yeah.
a loose example. But
I get
listen,
it.
people. I mean,
Yeah,
by
so-
this stage in the game, people should know what they got to do to
Yeah.
stay safe, right?
Well,
Like,
and there is there was another article about it, a slight uptick in cases in Chesco and Montco. Some of that probably has to do with back to school,
Sure.
because there are some schools that are meeting in person and colleges and whatnot. So there is a very slight uptick, but just something to keep an eye on and something to remember that we still need to be vigilant.
yeah, you got to
so-
be careful.
Yep, gotta be careful.
You got to be careful.
So that's it.
And there's plenty of ways. Like, like for me, I've already taken this time to spend more time outdoors, gone
Yeah.
on vacations, just doing it in a different way.
Well,
right?
and we talked about
We
two things
spend time
that
with-
we did that
right.
this weekend. We cleaned up. We're all out here masked. All right, it was slightly uncomfortable. It was hot, whatever. But it was
I took
like,
my mask off when I got down the street, and I
Well,
wasn't
you
away
were by
from
yourself.
any of the
Yeah.
rest of you people.
so yeah. So we did that, and I've done outdoor movies several times with
Right.
friends, and that's a really fun way to be able to do something outdoors.
you just gotta
and
be. You just gotta be smart.
You gotta think outside the box,
Yeah.
right?
And encourage your peeps to do the same
yeah.
thing, man.
Josh, your church is having services outside.
We do it all outside for
Yeah.
safety reasons.
Yeah.
And we're under the 250. We have about 100, 130 on a given Sunday morning, 9 o'clock
Right.
to beat the heat.
So you're
But now it's
outside.
cold
You've
at
got
9.
speakers,
Yeah.
and you.
Everyone's all spread out.
Right.
We mask up. When you stand up, mask up. Sit down, mask down. Same rule as the restaurant.
Yeah, okay.
But you're socially distanced at
Sure.
that point.
right.
Yeah. So we're not sure what we're gonna do when the weather changes.
Bundle
but-
up.
Yeah, bundle up. We want to keep it safe. We think that's how you love your neighbor in this season.
Exactly.
Right on.
So,
It's the best way you can love your neighbor. All
Right
right. Well,
on,
thank you.
right
It is
on.
6:05.
It
6:05,
is.
and my chicken's in the oven.
It's been a great show.
It has been a great show, Josh. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for all you
Um,
do and letting helping us get the word out and just remind people that this is still ongoing.
Yep.
Big props to you for that.
Better together.
Better together, man.
I would like to thank all the people that was their first time tuning in to
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Porchcast
I hope you come
Pottstown.
back,
I know
and,
a lot of folks were here to see Josh, but
Yeah.
we do the show every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 6. Please like the page. Follow the show. We do a lot of programming here that is specific for Pottstown and the surrounding communities.
Right. And if you've got news that you want to share, just let us know, and we'll be happy to share it if it's a community, public service announcement. I would like to give props to Matt Green
Thank you, ma'am.
for the excellent technical wizardry. Yeah.
My little study last night paid off. I will
Good.
say that. I'm getting better at the controls, so we're
Yep,
going to keep doing
That's good
that.
because I can't. My brain, I can't.
And
I'm just
then-
here to look good.
Right. No, that's good. That's good too. Everybody has a role to fulfill. Everyone
Right.
has a role to play. So we're gonna keep keeping on. Now
Yeah.
that we know what we're doing,
Yes.
kind of, we're gonna have Vance Jaffe back from High Street Billiards.
Yes.
We promised
Yep.
him.
He'll be here Thursday.
Yep, Thursdays. If there's anyone out there who's part of a church, nonprofit organization, business, if you want to come on the show and talk to us here on Porchcast about
Yep.
what you got going on, reach out to Amy or I, and we will get you on the show. I'm going to thank Nicole Matz again
Yes.
for bringing us Josh Parks.
Excellent.
Nicole Matz is a regular watcher.
She is.
And it was through her efforts. She got the show that she wanted to see today.
Yes.
I can't think of any better customer service. What other show do you watch where you can call up the host
And say,
say,
I think you should have
wanna
this
see
guest."
this guy on,
Right.
and we get you on.
Yeah. That's how we do it here on Porchcast.
There we are. I'm going to break it down. Amy Wolf is from Wolf Baldwin and Associates, bringing you fine legal service in the borough of Pottstown since 1973.
Yes.
Pastor Josh Parks, Branch Life Church, located in Pewtown, Pennsylvania. Go see Josh for all of your spiritual needs.
There you go.
He also is the manager for Support For Ashwood Apartments. Visit them on Facebook so that you can find a way to help your fellow man.
Yeah.
I am Matt Green. I am your local real estate expert. Matt
And a
Green at
disembodied
Blocker
voice.
Real Estate and your disembodied voice for the day. Call me for help buying and selling commercial and residential properties in Pottstown, Boyertown, and the surrounding areas.
And the 5.
I'm looking for those fivers.
Looking for the 5ers.
Hook me up, yo. I love doing business in Montgomery and Berks County.
Yeah.
Need more business coming out of the
Need some
five
Chesco.
Hit me up.
All
Matt
right.
Green at Glocker Real Estate. Anyway, we are Porchcast. Let's talk soon. Now, folks,
Good night, everyone.
on mic, our mics stay hot. Don't say anything you don't want the folks
Got it.
at
Yeah,
Branch
understood.
Life to
No
hear.
hot
No
mics.
worries.
No hot mics.
See you Thursday,
All
folks.
right. Excellent. We had a good viewership. That was, we had some good numbers there.